All right, well, we will jump right in. We'd like to welcome the 2018 and 2021 Memorial Tournament presented by Workday. Patrick Cantlay. Patrick, thanks for stopping by for a few minutes. Obviously, a course near and dear to you. You threw in a top 5 in addition to the 2 wins. If I could take you back to last year, obviously some unique circumstances early on, but you certainly got the job done. And if we could just get some thoughts on being back here this week.
Yeah, it's always nice to be back here. It's a golf course I really like, and it's always one of the best golf tournaments I think that we play out here on tour, and so it's always a week I circle on the calendar as one of the biggest ones of the year, and I'm happy to be back.
Mr. Nicholas talked yesterday about some of the changes, tweaks to the course. Anything that really stood out in your mind, or anything that is kind of raise your eyebrows a little bit at, or are you happy with everything you've seen?
Well, I don't think there's anything different from last year.
Okay.
So everything's similar to, I think it's exactly the same as far as from last year to this year. Golf course seems to have matured. It's in great shape. Greens are probably the firmest I've seen them for a Tuesday, Wednesday since I've started coming here. And if they get firmer every day, it's going to be a very tough challenge.
Okay, and we'll take a few questions, and we'll start with Cam right here.
Patrick, golf tournaments are very hard to predict. In the last couple of weeks, we've had some guys come from way, way back. I was just wondering what, in your experience, has been the most topsy-turvy last hour of a golf tournament you've ever been involved in, where it looked like it was all sort of going one way and then it sort of flipped and went another and then maybe flipped back?
Tough question, because when you're in the eye of the storm, you're not necessarily sure of all the things that are going on around you and in the groups around you, and usually doesn't help very much to get concerned about it. But like the first year I won here, I think I started a few back, 2, 3, 4 back or something like that, and I remember looking at the leaderboard early on the front 9, and Martin Keimer was tearing it up, and I think he was maybe 2 or 3 under through 5 or 6 holes. And so he had already started with a lead, and I thought that I really had to, make a ton of birdies to have even a chance. And then that game plan went perfect. I did make a ton of birdies. And then I looked up later at the leaderboard, and he wasn't, within, I think, 3 shots of me. I think I was 3 shots clear of him, but Adam Scott had made a bunch of birdies. And so he was right there. So that's, that's not uncommon for golf tournaments. I think you can tell by the trends of how guys are playing, maybe what the score is going to be, but you're not necessarily sure who. It's really hard to pick who is going to make that score.
Thanks.
Good. Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll take it to the back.
Jacob Myers, Columbus Dispatch. Patrick, what does it do coming back to a course after missing the cut at the PGA and before you played the U.S. Open, coming to a place that you've won before?
Yeah, anytime coming back to a place that you've won before, I think it's, how advantageous. I think it's exactly, I think this game, so many people have said how much between the ears it is, and so the more positive experiences you can rack up on a golf course, the better. And so this is a golf course where I definitely feel like I know exactly where I should be hitting it all the way around, and a golf course where I have done that a few times. And so drawing on those experiences is really helpful, every time I come back here.
Patrick, wonder what your reaction was when you saw the list yesterday for the LIV Golf, and what do you think the reception might be for some of those players going forward?
Yeah, I think, obviously there's a lot of names on there that I'm not familiar with, and there's obviously some names at the top that I'm very familiar with, and guys that I'm familiar with that have gone over there. I'm curious as you are to see how the tournaments will go and what the presentation will be like, if it'll be similar to golf tournaments that we're used to seeing on TV, or if it will be something totally different. And only time will tell. It should be very interesting to see, at least I'm interested to see what that product will be compared to what the product, is right now that we're all used to.
Steve, then Rob.
A couple. There have been major renovations done at the 16th hole. One year was just out of control. What is your approach to 16 now?
Well, I think it depends very much how firm the green is. It's a tough hole to begin with. If the green is soft, there's a few hole locations you can get at. In a weird way, there's certain hole locations you have to go directly at. The front hole locations, there's no space. There's maybe 10 paces, left to right, and there's no miss. So you just have to hit it in that section. But when the pin gets back left and it gets firm, like it did, I think 2 years ago, I mean, a par is a really, really good score, especially if it's downwind, because a shot that lands even 5 or 7 yards short of pin high is still going to go over the green. And so figuring out any way to have, look inside 5-6 feet for par is, really a great way to play the hole. However you've played it to give yourself a reasonable look at par, if it is firm and crazy like sometimes it can get. So then it comes to whatever shot you just feel comfortable with. I mean, I think Phil laid up and made par or missed a short putt for par or something like that. So, I mean, par there when the hole is playing difficult is a great score.
And you remember when you had your first milkshake here, how good are they? And how many are you going to go after this week?
I haven't had one in recent years, but I had one when I won the Nicholas Award in 2011, and I remember it being pretty good.
Rob?
Ben Crenshaw is the honoree. Jack was in here talking about the greatest putters he saw. Curious who you think currently, you think is the best putter, and secondly, what makes for great putting? What?
Well, Denny McCarthy's probably the best putter out here the last few years. I'll take Tiger Woods if the putt has any consequence. I'm probably too young to have seen many of the putts Jack hit, but I'm sure I would have said the same thing about Jack if I was back in that era. And putting is, at this level, I think a lot reading the greens. I think reading the greens is an undervalued skill. And then after that, I mean, it's rolling it on the line with the pace that you want.
Get back here. Oh, sorry, Fergie, we'll come to you next.
You're out there with Eli today. Just what was that like? Any fun moments on the course?
Yeah, it was fun. We had a great program group today. We had a couple laughs, and golf course in perfect shape. The guys played good. Played with another friend of mine, Mike McCarthy, who I've played some golf with before, and he's a very good player. So it was a very enjoyable walk this morning.
Fergie?
Do you feel like you're coming on the policy board at the right time?
You could have said wrong time, and it would have been a good question, too. I think, I've only been on the PAC. I mean, we just had our third meeting, or the third meeting I've ever been in yesterday. So I would say I'm the opposite of experienced in that realm. But it does seem to be an interesting time for golf. And, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens regardless of what happens.
I was going to see if you could try and put yourself back into your UCLA days and you're just getting ready to turn pro. No matter how good you are, can you see that as a really viable option to go to this series for a couple years and pocket more money than you could probably make turning pro, and then you're still young enough to eventually come over to this tour? Can you see that as a temptation, I guess?
Sorry, you said when you were at UCLA, could you imagine?
Yeah, if you could put yourself back in college right now. I was just trying to make it personal for you. Could you see that as a
yeah, I mean, I think everyone's situation is so unique and different. And so the motivators that different guys have, I think a lot of times guides their decisions. Obviously, you've seen by a lot of the guys that have chosen to go over there, they're in the later parts of their career in general. And so they don't, obviously the motivators for them are different. They don't feel like they're on the upswing. They probably feel like they're on the downswing. So they're trying to maximize what years they have left. It's an interesting question to think about what it would be like coming in on the other end. But I imagine there's some of, if I don't have anything, then nothing's guaranteed, and I'm not comfortable where I'm at because I have no money if I'm in college, then I imagine it's definitely more enticing for somebody that is one of the better or best players out here. I mean, life, if you're comfortable, I mean, happiness, you're not going to get more happiness by getting more money necessarily. But if you are coming out of college or you're in college and you have no money, I can empathize with the fact that more money is going to make your life better when you have no money. So, you know, I think you could throw it around if you put me in college and depending on what the deal was, someone put a deal in front of me when I had zero, you could say I'd be foolish for not taking it. I mean, it's a tough thing, and I think trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to understand what their motivators are, I think that's why you see guys make the decisions that they make.
You know, kind of on that line, Patrick, do you get any sense now that because of so many young people achieving success quickly, that there's an urgency of college kids coming out now to be good quick? And I guess my point to that is, if you are throwing away a chance at majors and big moments, would you rethink it? Or you can just pass.
I won't pass. It's a good question. I think once you've already made it and you take yourself back, it seems fairly obvious that you should have just kept on the path you're going on and tried to play the majors and tried to go the tried and true path. If you're already, like, for example, Colin Morikawa came out here, started winning tournaments right off the bat, right? If he would have known that in college, if the opportunity was, you know, presented to him in college, if he would have known that he would have gone to the tour and won straight away and won majors and been the next bright star in American golf, he would have gone that path. The problem is Colin Morikawa probably couldn't have imagined winning 2 majors as quick as he did and had the success that he had. And it's not a sure thing. So presenting him with that opportunity when he has nothing, I think is a lot different than asking somebody, you know, what would you have taken that deal knowing that you're going to win all those tournaments? I mean, it's like you can easily make the right decision once you've looking back. Yeah, hindsight. Thanks.
Patrick, when you think to last year after Saturday, what happened with John, when you look back in that tournament, was Sunday just another day, or was that like one of the more bizarre, you know, final days for you in your career?
I would say Saturday was more bizarre. It was the fastest I've ever gone from 6 shots back to tied for the lead. And it happened while I was eating dinner, basically. So Saturday was odd. By the time Sunday rolled around, I had acclimated to the new situation and carried on as if yesterday didn't happen. But Saturday was a weird and obviously very unfortunate day.
Anybody else? We all good? Going once, twice? Patrick, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Best of luck this week.